You don't need some special knowledge or degree or experience to do this. And so we sit back and we look at it and we go, wow, what if somebody who was not in our current financial situation wanted to start a business? And whether it's t-shirts, whatever it is, the barrier to entry is impossible. Yeah. Especially if you're low income. And I think some of the best entrepreneurs will never know about because they're low income. They can't afford to pursue the dream.
This episode of Libertarian Leadership Academy podcast is brought to you by Podchaser Botanicals. If you are a CBD user, someone who uses CBD, Delta 8, HHC, THCO, any of those cannabinoids, please support our sponsor, Podchaser Botanicals. You can use discount code LA at checkout to save 30%. And there is a new option to where you could donate also 10% of the total product cost to a charity of your choice, a Liberty charity of your choice. There's a bunch listed there right now. So go ahead and check that out. It doesn't increase the total of your checkout costs. It just takes 10% of the total and donates to that organization. And then we have newest sponsor, another one of our new companies, Freedom Focus. It's a morning motivation drink mix. Right now we're in beta testing, which means that we've got 2 different flavors that we're testing out. And if you'd like to help us out with this, we still have some samples available. You could go to freedomfocus.co and request a free sample, and it's completely free. We'll pay for shipping, all that good stuff, and then you just go online in the survey and let us know which flavor you like best. So please support our sponsors, Podchaser Botanicals, discount code LA to save 30%, and then freedomfocus.co. Get signed up for a free sample today. Thank you. Welcome to the Libertarian Leadership Academy podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pickens, and today we have a good friend of mine on. He is the co-founder of a company called Inkie, and he also ran for state representative in Washington State as a libertarian, and his name is Shane Driscoll. Shane, welcome to the show.
Mike, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. So this year, my focus is going to be on interviewing libertarians who are also entrepreneurs, who are also into personal development and empowerment. And obviously, you are someone that I have great conversations with. And I thought, you know what? I got to have Shane on the show. So before we get into all the business and personal development stuff, you ran for office as a libertarian, correct?
Yes, back in 2016.
Awesome. And what were some of the reasons why you ran?
Well, I think the primary reason was that it gave me an opportunity to get out there and to start talking with people, sort of changing the tone and the paradigm, if you will, of the conversation that was being had at the time. Clearly, as a libertarian, they're fascinating. As a libertarian, I found that about 50% of my views and my thoughts on various issues aligned perfectly with Democrats. The other 50% aligned perfectly with Republicans. Where we really part ways, and I think as libertarians, at least speaking for myself, where we part ways is in terms of talking about solutions. I tend to find that the more traditional parties, if you will, tend to look at government as being the solution. And it gave me an opportunity to go out there and sort of talk about how perhaps that's the problem and not the solution, and start talking with people about things that they could do in their own community and really it gave me a chance to get out there and start motivating people, at least challenging the thought process.
Now, when you ran for office, you were working at Amazon, and you worked at Amazon in the past, and then now you started your own company, right? Inkie.
Yes.
Right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my sister and I started up a t-shirt printing business, t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever you need printed. And yeah, we just exactly. Beautiful sweatshirt.
Yes. Yeah, Shane does all our t-shirt printing. So this is our Disappointment Cannabis Company shirt. But
Yep, those were fun to do. So I think we started it because at the end of the day, I think we both sort of see the writing on the wall, at least for us, right? It's not the same for everybody, but for us, it was about overall happiness, fulfillment in life. And quite frankly, it was about freedom. The objective for both of us is to no longer be working for someone. We'll work with anyone.
Sure.
But the idea of being employed and, it's not the most popular phrase, but I use it all the time. I just no interest in being a wage slave anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know?
Now I know there's a lot of people out there that do that. And one of the reasons why, I have you on the show and other entrepreneurs this year is to hopefully encourage and motivate more libertarians to start businesses, right? You have a choice if you're going to go get your t-shirts printed. And I've had t-shirts printed from other companies before, and I don't know what their political views are. I don't know if there's, voting for Republicans, voting for Democrats, donating my money to Republicans or Democrats to then turn around and oppress me, right? So it's very important to me that I'm supporting other libertarian business owners.
Right.
And now there's another aspect of your business like that I really like, is that this hoodie is high quality. Right. And I've bought t-shirts, and I've gotten t-shirts from campaigns that are from other companies that I'm not going to name names, Gildan, but they're not good quality. You throw them in the washing machine and it comes out and they're stiff, and, and they shrunk 2 sizes, and it just, it fades, after the first wash. And it's like, it's just not something and libertarian candidates, pay attention to this, because if you give a volunteer or you're selling t-shirts for money on your website and you sell a crappy t-shirt, those people are not going to be happy.
They're really not. And I'm a big fan of being as fair as I can possibly be. You mentioned a company we weren't going to mention, but in all fairness, I think I blame the company less. I mean, yes, they do have a line of lower, cheap quality t-shirts that gives somebody like my sister and I the opportunity to put shirts together in bulk and sell them for $10-12. And nobody wants to spend a lot, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
In fairness to the company, they do have other lines. Excuse me. They do have other lines that are not necessarily that cheap one, but I think they're sort of synonymous with cheap t-shirts, and so it makes sense. But yeah, and look, if what you want is cheap t-shirts, we can do that. But for us, it's about quality. And what we have found is that our costs for the shirts, high quality versus low quality, isn't significantly different enough for us to choose automatically a low quality shirt. So
yeah, well, I would just recommend to candidates and businesses, if you're going to invest in t-shirts, go with the higher quality ones that are going to last. Especially if you're considering running multiple campaigns, because then someone can just reuse that shirt. Another thing that I really like about what you guys are doing is that we can sell multiple sizes of t-shirts on our website, and we don't have to keep them in stock. And then when someone orders it, you ship it directly to them. I don't even have to deal with it.
Yeah. Yep. So in the industry, we call that print on demand. And so, yeah, it does make things easier, especially, look, especially if you're running for local office and even state office, depending on the office. It's not like you're working with big budget, and it's, you've got to spend money to make money. You've got to, spend money to raise funds. And the way that we approach this is that really, other than some time to help us with the design and get us what you need on the t-shirt, there's no cost to you as a candidate. And, you get, your portion of the proceeds right off the bat when the
that's what I appreciated, is that I just literally sent you logos, and you sent me back mock t-shirt designs on how it would look on the t-shirts. And we said, go for it. And we started getting orders immediately because we had those mock t-shirt designs that we could turn around and post, and, people wanted them, and we could sell them, and then you ship it directly. So that's awesome. Now, starting the business, you've had a few hiccups, if you will, government hurdles that you had to jump through. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so frustrating. We happen to be in a position where when we started this business, we had some means at our disposal. But through our experience in starting this, I think everyone wants to play by the rules, that we want to do the right thing, that we want to set up a legitimate, credible business, and we want it to function properly. And part of that is you got to jump through some hoops. And the hoops are costly and they're expensive. And what we kind of walked away from it thinking was, wow, what we're doing here isn't rocket science. It's not, we don't need a specialty knowledge. You don't need, there's nothing super special about what we're doing. And yet the hurdles to, get into the business or to start a business of really any kind are obnoxious. So some examples is, we obviously do this out of the home. Welcome to my basement. And so we do this out of the home, but we live in an HOA that doesn't allow home-based businesses. as if they have any control. And so when we went to sign up for the business license, the county got back to us and said, yeah, you can't, that your home address won't work for your business. The HOA doesn't allow it. So we reached out to the HOA, and the HOA says, yeah, the county won't allow home-based businesses within an HOA. So it's just nonsense.
It's not the HOA rules, it's the county rules.
Well, that depends on who you ask. If you ask the county, it's the HOA. If you ask the HOA, it's the county.
No one wants to take responsibility.
There is no responsibility. There is no responsibility. And at the end of the day, it just comes off as overt collusion.
Yeah.
It's, the HOA, and even though there's, it's run by the neighborhood now, it wasn't originally. It was originally set up by a corporation, the builder. And of course, they're going to work with the county. They'll do anything they can to work with the county. Otherwise, their permits get held up and they can't build anything.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a lot of silliness. So our solution, what we had to do, and what we have found literally hundreds of businesses have done around here, is we had to go rent a 10 by 10 office space that has literally nothing in it for $400 a month.
Is it really a 10 by 10 space with nothing in it?
Correct.
You don't go there and do yoga or meditate or anything like that.
That's a great point. I suppose if I wanted to get into yoga, it would be a great private place to do it. But yeah, no, it doesn't have any utility whatsoever. The only thing it does is give us a quote unquote commercial address.
So it's basically a licensing fee.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. So now a landlord makes money. The county's going to make its money.
Yeah.
It's silly. And again, right, what we're doing here isn't rocket science. You don't need some special knowledge or degree or experience to do this. And so we sit back and we look at it and we go, wow, what if somebody who was not in our current financial situation wanted to start a business? And whether it's t-shirts, whatever it is, the barrier to entry is impossible. Yeah. Especially if you're low income. And I think some of the best entrepreneurs will never know about because they're low income. They can't afford to pursue the dream.
Yeah, this is something we've been discussing here locally. We have a couple properties here, and one is zoned industrial, and we're looking to, it's on a very busy corner, probably the busiest corner in the county because it connects Oregon and Washington. And the county said, we're trying to put a coffee stand up. And they said we couldn't because it's zoned industrial. We need to get a special use permit. It was $800 for the special use permit. And then it was another $1,100 for the hearing in front of a judge. And they had to do a traffic study, and they had to do a waste study, and they had to do another, environmental impact study. And it's literally me and the two other people wanting to start the coffee stand in this room with 11 other people from the government on the other side of the table. 11 other people.
That's ridiculous.
And that was just the initial meeting. That wasn't even the hearing in front of a judge. And like you said, if we didn't have the money to start, there's nothing we could do. Right. So, but we started that process in June, literally opened the coffee shop yesterday. That's how long it took. We missed the entire summer season, the entire fall season, and here on the peninsula, that's when all the tourists are, during the summer and the fall and the spring, right? It gets, we're on the coast, so it's, raining every single day most of the time, and there's not a lot of tourists that come out during the winter. They still do, but not as many. But anyways, it is what we had to do. And, the people that I partnered with for the coffee stand, they wanted to do everything by the book. They didn't want to start it early. Well, also they said if we opened it, it'd be a $600 fine per day. Something ridiculous, right? And the issue that bugs me the most is that none of these people would have jobs if these ordinances didn't exist. And when I run for county commissioner, I'm going to run to fix these ordinances. And the way that I would fix them is I would say, you can start a business and then apply for your permit.
You said something interesting there. It's just, for fun to kind of talk about. You said that these people wouldn't have jobs, right? But I kind of look at it this way. Would we consider, a mafia hitman employed? Would we consider a goon, for the mafia or some gang?
Yeah.
Are they employed? because it's really no different. I mean, when you think about, right, what you need to do to start a business, the notion that there's funds that necessarily have to go to government that will do nothing to improve your business, nothing to help you build your business, nothing. In fact, all it will do is get in the way of progress for your business. And you have to pay them, or else, under threat of theft, under threat of freedom or loss of freedom. I don't understand how we got to a point where we just accepted that this is normal. This is how things should get done. This is, and and look, I think at the end of the day, if you talk to anybody, in their right mind about this thing, everybody acknowledges that, yes, it's wrong. And I think that's kind of what makes libertarians different from the other two traditional parties, is that, well, we're willing to do something about it. We recognize that the problem isn't your neighbor. The problem isn't, any myriad of things that get the blame from government. The problem is actually government.
Yeah. Well, so we reached out to the county commissioner from the district, and she agreed with us, but she wasn't willing to do it. They're the ones that have the power. The county commissioners can literally introduce new ordinances or vote to strike ordinances. They're the ones that can do something. But Republican county commissioner, supposedly for small government, won't do anything about it, won't actually take the steps to solve it for people. Because this is the thing, I don't want the government involved at all. But if the government is going to be involved, give people the ability to start their businesses. And then if there's a problem, deal with it then, right? If we opened the coffee stand and it was so busy that it was causing accidents, left and right and whatever, then we'll deal with the traffic situation at that point. But at least we'll have money to do it, to fix whatever is going on, because there's revenue coming in. And just so you know, there hasn't been any accidents due to our coffee stand. You know what I mean? And there probably isn't going to be, because it's very recessed back. There's two entrances. Like, it used to be a gas station anyways. So, regardless, give people the permission to start their business. And then if there's problems after that, deal with it. But don't charge people thousands of dollars, right? We had to get a state structural inspection on the trailer. We had to get a county health inspection. We had to do a permit for the electrical hookup that was done by a licensed contractor. We had to do the septic inspection, which we just did when we purchased the property a year ago. But we had to do another one to make sure it could handle some wastewater, like in this, 4 big 2,200 gallon tanks, right? That's meant for a commercial property. We had to do it all over again, and we had to pay for it, So that's on top of the other special use permit, and then the hearing fee, $1,100 on top of that. Don't get me started.
I know. Here's the struggle, right? Because for me, my mindset, that I'm the type of guy that will always ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah, me too.
My mindset is I don't care. Now, I happen to be in business with my sister, who very much cares, and who is very much intimidated by the government, and understandably so. But I'm all about peaceful non-compliance. And if I'm talking to a libertarian that's talking about starting a business or thinking about starting a business, look, I'm not saying, hey, go out there and break the law, but I am. At the end of the day, if no one's being harmed, if no one is being hurt, if there is no victim, there's no crime.
Yes, that right there is the important part, right?
Yes.
Bad laws are meant to be broken. And in my mind, bad laws are laws that are in place not to protect people, but to protect the government or to pay the government or anything like that, right? Yeah. Good laws, like laws against murder, laws against rape, laws against theft, laws against whatever, bodily harm, assault, like those are good laws. I'm okay with those laws being on the books, right? Burdensome ordinances that have no purpose whatsoever than to make sure the government has 11 extra people employed for this process is not a good thing, Yeah,
it costs everybody. It costs businesses, it costs consumers. At the end of the day, it costs those who can least afford to pay the price the most.
It does, because if someone else wanted to start a business and they don't have those funds, what are they going to do? They have to ask their friends, their family to help cover it. and that's fine.
Well,
But if they don't have those means, then what are they
right.
going to do? They're going to do
Well,
nothing. And that's what
there's
happens.
always, yeah, there's always capitalism, man. You can go to the bank and ask for a
Oh,
loan so that the
geez.
bankers and billionaires make more money off of your efforts while the government is making money off of your efforts over here. You can kind of run a business, but you won't own it outright until you get the mortgage paid off. And you'll never really own it because government will never be done collecting money from you. I mean, I don't want to paint a bleary picture, but I think that kind of goes back to the point, right? Which is that there's no crime if there is no victim. And to your point, immoral laws, I think the moral imperative with immoral laws is that you ignore them.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and peacefully look, I don't want to, try to, libertarians need to go out there and riot. No, nothing like that. But at the end of the day, right, if you have a small business and you're making less than $8,000 to $10,000 a month in revenue on it, especially if you're a service provider, you're not producing a product, but if you produce a service, if you're a counselor or a coach or, something along those lines, man, until you're truly raking in money, why would you even bother?
yeah.
It's,
Yep. So I know we're supposed to be motivating and inspiring libertarians to start businesses, but this is like,
yes,
so
yes. But I think that's the thing, right? Is that, look, we are. And what we're saying is that if the hurdles that are put in front of you by the system, whether we want to call it government, whether we want to call it the banking industry, whatever it is, right? Look, running a business, and this as well as I do, there is no such thing as a straight line, right? You don't get in your lane on the business track, stay in your lane and go on and around. In fact, the nature of business is you're all over the map. You've got things coming at you left and right. Well, look, if you get to do this or have to do this with your business, I just say you slalom through the hurdles. Jump
absolutely.
jump the ones you have to jump that you're afraid not to, or for whatever reason that need to be jumped, for sure. Face those.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're a free person. You're a free individual human being.
Yeah. So my big motivation behind this is to take money away from Republicans and Democrats, bottom line, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a tire shop, and you're working at a tire shop in your town, do everything you can to open up your own tire shop so that money's coming to you.
Yep.
A mechanic, carpenters, construction, any type of construction, like pull money away from Republicans and Democrats by starting businesses and going out there, not necessarily, causing a ruckus, but try to get people to get to know you, like you, and trust you. So they start paying you instead of our competition. Because bottom line is we are in a competition with Republicans and Democrats. And when I say that, it's really we're in competition with authoritarians, people who think that they have authority to tell other people what to do. Yep. And we need to support and bolster libertarian-owned businesses. That's the bottom line.
Couldn't agree more.
Awesome, man. Do you have any words of advice, words of wisdom for someone looking to start a business?
Nothing that's going to blow anybody away, but I'm going to keep it real simple. Don't be afraid.
That's a good one.
Fear can serve a purpose in a crisis, in a traumatic situation. And even then, it only serves a purpose temporarily. Beyond that, fear doesn't do an individual any good. In fact, it is as oppressive as the oppressors we're saying we don't like, if not worse, right? Because it's you limiting you. It's you keeping yourself down. It's you having whatever silly messages are going on in your brain or going on in your mind. And I know the concept of no fear has been, commercialized and somebody's made a profit off of it, and it's old school and it's old hat,
literally
nonsense that people think, it's just a saying. It is not just a saying. It's not just a saying. Fear is a killer.
Yeah, there's a great quote. I don't remember who said it, but it's feel the fear and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Feel the fear and do it anyways. When you're starting a business and you need to get customers, it's scary because your ego will hold on to what it knows from the past. And if you're having to stretch your comfort zone, your ego is not going to like that. So it's going to make you fear talking to people about your new business, right? Because it's something you've never done before, but you have to go do it anyways. For you to get new business, you have to go out and talk to new people. Right. Yeah. For you to build your business, especially if it's new, because no one's going to know you. right? You have to build up your customer base. And the only way to do that is by going out in your community and networking and getting people to know you, like you, and trust you. So they'll do business with you more than your competition. And it's the same thing with running for office as a candidate. People vote for those that they know, like, and trust. As a candidate, you got to go out there and get people to know you, like you, and trust you. So I love that concept, but you know.
And here's the other thing too, have fun. That's the other one.
That's a good one.
It matters. You know, I mean, why would you do something if you didn't enjoy it?
Yeah.
So just as an example, you know, for me in my career, back when I did sales, look, sales is a monotonous grind. I mean, I think if you've done sales long enough, it's a grind. But if you're new to sales, it can be intimidating as hell, right? To jump on the phone or go knock on a door or any of those kind of things and talk to a stranger, and why would they respect you? You know, we get the nonsense going in our head. One of my favorite things that I was taught by a buddy of mine that I worked with, and it served me very well. I worked on the phone initially when I was doing sales. You can treat every call like a business call, and you can talk with what we would call commission breath, right? You know, I got to get the sale. I got to get the sale. I got to get the sale. I got to report up to my manager. I got to pay my bills. There's so much stress and anxiety and frustration and fear that comes with all of that. And he said to me one day, "Hey man, you're actually a pretty funny guy." And I said, "Well, thank you." And he goes, "You should be treating every single phone call like a prank call. You should be talking with people, seeing if you can mess with them and seeing if you can get them to buy what you're selling, and treat everything like a prank call."
Yeah.
That change in my paradigm about how I was approaching what I was doing, it changed my entire career. It created a career.
Yeah. So have fun with it, basically. Joke around.
Yes. Enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, do something else.
Well, do people want to do business with a monotonous robot, right? Do they, or a pushy salesperson? No, they want to do business with people they like.
Yes. Yes.
So if you have a great personality, then use it.
Right.
If you have a shitty
or in my case, if you don't, use humor.
Oh man.
So I do my best, man. Anything to make you laugh, Mike.
Great advice. That is wonderful advice. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on? I think this has been really good. It's been a short interview, but it's been really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think don't be afraid and have fun. I mean, I know it sounds simplistic, and I know it sounds childish, and I know it sounds all like, it's certainly nothing any of us learned in college, is it? But at the end of the day, we get one shot at this life. And if you're not making the most of it, at least 80% of your waking hours every day. I mean, I guess, 20% to relax and enjoy some life. But what are you doing?
Absolutely.
You're not finding happiness. You're not finding success.
That's one of the things that I love about owning a business, is that no one really tells me what to do or when to show up. Obviously I have roles and responsibilities that I have to follow through on, right? But I don't have someone standing over me checking to make sure I get in at 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I get in at 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes I get in at 8:30 in the morning. It just depends on what I want to do. If I stay up late writing or reading or playing a computer game, I can show up at 9 o'clock in the morning and get to work, right? And I don't have to be there at 5 a.m., and that's one of the advantages to it. If I need to take the kids to karate practice at 10 o'clock in the morning, I can, because there's a morning karate, practice that they can go to. These are things that allow you to be flexible. Now, obviously, if you own a tire shop, you got to be there at a certain time, and your hours that are open, or a retail store, you have to be there at a certain time. But then you can also hire employees that can fill in the gaps. You're not going to do everything.
Yeah, so that's another fun thing. You brought up employees. And this, and anybody else who's listening who owns a business knows this, that employees are expensive, and they're not just expensive financially. They are, I want to use the right terminology here without being offensive, but they are at times can be a barrier to conducting good business. And what I mean by that is that, employment comes with expectations on both, right? So you as the employer have expectations of the employee. The employee has expectations of you, after a certain amount of time. you're going to have to give me more money for a certain amount of time. I want better benefits. I want more vacation time. I want more. These are all things that continuously cost the business money. And so we're working on putting together an approach, with the new 1099 laws that are out there, the contractor laws that are out there. They've gone out of their way to make it next to impossible for somebody to either be hired on 1099 or to do any 1099 hiring. Our plan is we have our business, but as we grow and as we have need for more people to come in and help us with the business, we're going to set them up as 1099. So the equipment that they'll be using, so you usually have 2, maybe 3 people in a pod, if you will, for printing. So you'll have your printer, you're going to have your presses, you're going to have all the things you need, your inventory available to that group of people. And so we're selling it to them. And when they get it paid off, it's theirs. If they want to leave our company and take their printer and presses and everything with them and go start their own, congratulations, you just got paid to pay off your equipment and go start your own business.
That's really cool.
If you decide you want to stay, wow, you get the benefits of the space that we'll provide. You get the benefits of, the inventory that we provide. You get the benefits of having a good environment to be working in. And if you want to start your own business while kicking out the printed things that we need to get done, if you want to go out and find your own clients, by all means, go find your own clients, build your business. We would love to see somebody work for us and build their own brand. So to me, that's opportunity. And it's not like, look, if you're making, 150,000 plus a year, right, in your job, you're feeling like you're doing okay. I'm sure right now you're feeling quite happy with things, but there's a ceiling for you. There's a ceiling. You're not going to make $1 million a year. It's just not going to happen unless you're willing to play the corporate games and, adopt the corporate culture and give up your individuality and just, repeat what's been said to you, over and over until you get promoted to CEO. I mean, that's a 20-year path.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 30-year path, depending on the person and the company, or you can be free and have actual opportunity to build a business and make your $1 million a year, to be your own CEO, to have the freedom and the ability to decide when you want to work, how you want to work, what you want to do. It just, to me, that's what's missing in America. One of the many things that's missing in America, but that's a big thing that's missing from the business environment in America, is that everybody's getting out of college and, I want a job. I need a job. JOB, got to have a job. And I think you've probably been around in the sales world long enough to know that we know that job is an acronym, stands for just over broke.
Sure. Yeah.
What a silly thing to do to yourself, especially if you've got debts coming out of college.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I think it's important to provide opportunity as much as it is important to provide money for people.
Sure. And this is the thing, not everyone is meant to own a business, right? There's a lot of responsibilities to it. There are times where I work long hours for, 20 days in a row, right, without taking a day off. And then there's other times where, I can just take days off and it's totally fine. But we have 6 employees. 2 of them opted to become W-2 employees, which means they're on the clock at a certain time and, they're committed to a certain amount of work. And then we have 4 that are 1099 employees. And with the 1099 employees, like, we can't tell them when they're going to show up or what time they're going to work or what day they're going to work. Right. And that's their choice. They opted for more freedom over less freedom. They're responsible for their own taxes and making sure that's up, but it doesn't matter to me if they pay them or not. Right. That's totally up to them.
Right.
But then even with our W-2 employees, it's like on Friday, she called in, she wasn't feeling well. I said, yeah, take the day off, go for it. There was stuff that needed to be done, but we'll just let our clients know, hey, it's not getting done today. Your order's not getting out today. We had someone call in sick. It just is what it is, and I think that's the best way to look at it. All of our employees, 1099 and W-2, they're all libertarian. They all, have the same philosophy and the same mindset. I've hired people who were super liberal before, and it just did not work out. It was just too much of a clash. They expected way too much for way too little.
Correct.
So, I don't know if that's discrimination to only hire libertarians or not, right? But it's just what I found to work, because they will take responsibility. They believe in personal responsibility, right?
I think if you're putting that in the job ad, you might raise an eyebrow, but asking about it in the interview. What's your religion and your politics?
Yeah, cannot be a communist. No communists allowed. I think, but one of our employees, it's like she had a "We the People" sticker on the back of her car. I'm like, okay, that's easy to figure out right away. Like, oh, I know you.
Right. Hey, you're one of us, the people.
Yeah. So anyways, last question, and it's one that I ask everyone that comes on the show. Your own words, what do you think it takes to be a leader?
Man, that's a big question, actually.
Yeah, I should have prepped you for it, but
I think having to answer it on the spot, you're going to get an honest answer out of me here. So let me just make noise with my face so I can have some time to think here. It's going to be different for everyone, Mike, but here's my take on it. I don't know what happened if I was dropped on my head as a kid. I don't know if it was genetics. I don't know what my deal is. I have never been willing to march to the beat of someone else's drum. And while I don't necessarily think that makes me a leader, it does make me independent. And I do think that there is a core element of leadership that a good leader has to have that drive in them. They may not have to be as extreme as I am, right? But to have that independent streak in them that, I'm not afraid to ask for help when I need it. But if I don't need it, I really don't need it, And so so for me, I think that's a core thing, for at least for my style of leadership. Then beyond that, right? I think good leaders relate to human beings. I think that a good leader has a level of emotional intelligence that for instance, if you and I were working for, a third guy that's not on the screen here, I think if that person's a good leader, they're going to understand that the way I talk with Shane and the way that I work with Shane and the way that I ask Shane to do things, it may look nothing like the way I talk to Mike, the way I ask Mike to do things, the way, and you've got to be able to have the mental bandwidth to treat people. So you've got to have the independence to say, I'm me, love it or hate it, this is who you're getting, married with the ability to balance, right, that the emotional intelligence to treat people with the dignity and the, I don't know, I am at a loss for words, but to treat them like adults, to treat them like human beings, like you would expect to be treated.
So the golden rule, right? Treat others how you would like to be treated. Well, there's the platinum rule, which is treat others how they would like to be treated. And I think that's what you're talking about, because you're treating others how they want to be treated, and know that, hey, Shane is different and Mike is different, and they both communicate differently and they have different styles. And it's like, I'm going to talk to Shane differently than I'm going to talk to Mike. Versus I'm going to talk to Shane and Mike exactly how I want someone to talk to me. And a lot of times that's the case, especially if someone's, bullheaded or straightforward or they're brass. And it's like,
anybody who's watching this that has a job, right, that has to answer to a manager, who has to answer to a manager, who answers to another manager, who answers to a VP, right? Look, that is probably the biggest thorn in any employee's side, is dealing with management that just is in lockstep with what Mr. CEO says. I mean, look, I've worked for a lot of large companies, and I'm not going to name any companies that I'm talking about here, but there are some large companies out there in the IT world that, look, quite frankly, would be better classified as cults than companies, right? You will think how we think, you will say what we say, you will do what we say, you will represent there's zero room for individuality, zero room for creativity, and it bleeds down into management. And, they have certain rules and principles and things that they lead with, that to be in management necessarily means you're an automaton. Right. And then your job is to force that on employees that may be struggling with becoming an automaton.
Yeah. You show up, everyone's cubicle is the same, exactly the same.
Yes.
Everyone gets there at the same time, clocks in, the first matrix, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, and I think, again, at the end of the day, leaders are also we're not afraid to be alone. We're not afraid to take the path that isn't even there, right?
Yeah.
We'll blaze our own trail. And I think for me, my leadership style, what it comes down to is if you look at me as a leader, if I'm your leader, it's because you're choosing to follow. I'm not the kind of leader that says, follow me,
Yeah.
And
You have to.
So what's that?
I said, you have to follow me.
Right.
You must,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And that's why we have all these mini tyrants in government positions, right? Unelected government positions are mini tyrants. It's like, I have to listen to what these inspectors say. I have to do what they say. I have to be nice to them. I have to be nice to the county government. Otherwise, they're not going to give me the permit. I have to be nice to this judge during a hearing. Otherwise, he's not going to give me the approval, right? I have to laugh at his stupid jokes. I have to pretend to like him. It just sucks. It just,
Yeah.
Anyways, I went off on a tangent.
Well, no, but it makes perfect sense because look, I remember as a kid, right, being taught that lesson, whether it was by my grandmother or my mom, but you just have to compromise. You just have to do things, because there's just the way things get done, and you just have to. No, you don't. You can find another way. There's 330 million human beings in this country. Right? There is a path for everyone. And there are certain people that will never work well together. There are certain people that will never meet each other that would have been perfect for working together. And I think, leadership at its core starts with the individual. You've got to be your own leader.
Yep.
And it's tough because you got to accept responsibility for that.
Yeah, this is great because if there's any candidates watching this is, everyone who volunteers for your campaign, like no one's paid, especially libertarian campaigns, like no one's paid. You're going to have to inspire people and you're going to have to meet them where they are.
Yes.
And I've experienced bad candidates. I've experienced, egotistical candidates, and guess what? They didn't have a team,
right?
Because they weren't meeting people where they were, and they expected, because they were running as a libertarian, they just expected other libertarians to have to help them, and that's just not the case. So,
it's libertarianism.
Yeah.
It's about the individual. You're going to have to take ownership, guys and gals.
So
yeah, but and then one last thing before you let me go, since we're talking about that, if there's anybody out there that's actually thinking about running, I know that we live in an era where we are inundated with what's happening around the world, with what's happening in Washington, D.C., with what's happening even at the state level in some cases. And it fills our news and it fills our talk shows and it fills our podcasts and all the things that we're trying to pay attention in so that we can be engaged, right? Because it's important for us to have knowledge and be engaged and, be at the forefront of, I know what the breaking news was before it even broke, like we have that sort of mentality in this country. And if that inspires you to run for office because you want to fix the broken federal government, or you want to fix the broken state government, or you want to the most power any government has. In fact, the state of Illinois just passed that anti-2A, anti-Second Amendment law. And what was it? Something like 80 sheriffs stepped up and said, yeah, we're not enforcing that.
Yeah.
Dude,
we need more of that.
That is power. That is power. It didn't come from Washington, D.C. It didn't come from Republicans. It didn't come from Democrats. It didn't come from anything other than sheriffs understanding the importance of the Second Amendment and understanding that it's not okay to trample people's constitutional rights, stepping up and saying no. And that's at the county level. Can you imagine what a city council member can do? Can you imagine what a county commissioner can do? A mayor can do? I'm telling you, if you're thinking about running for office, please run local.
Absolutely. Well, when you run local, you have a better chance of winning. There's a lot less votes that you need to get to win, increasing your chances of winning. And then once you're elected, like, for example, Don Myers, right? Don Myers ran for city council in Moses Lake. He was elected in 2015. He's now the mayor of Moses Lake. He has a supermajority and is getting rid of ordinances. And then we've got another city council member in Afraid of Washington. He's the only libertarian there, but he is, proposing ordinances to get rid of that are on the books. He's proposing them. He's not making it happen, but he's getting people to think, but he
That's
will
right.
make it happen. You know, his name's Matt Moore. And, you know, the same thing, Don did the same thing, right? He proposed these things to get rid of. No one wanted to do it, but he went out in the community and started talking to people saying, hey, we need to get rid of this ordinance. And other people would agree with him. And then he asked those people to run for the other seats. And eventually he got a super majority because other people would ran and like, yeah, Don, you're right. All these things need to go. And Don's like, well, yeah, will you run for this other seat? And they did, you know, and then they eventually won. Right. So, but it was that one spark, that one person that did it, that went out there and was talking about it, that initially got him elected to city council. Right. So if you're thinking about running for office, run at the local level and then run on issues where you can get a bunch of people to agree with you, because then they'll support you. Right.
And there's no easier way to do that than at the local level. You're dealing with smaller numbers of people.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Great point.
So there's my wisdom, world. That's the best I've got to offer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shane. I know you got other stuff to do on a Sunday, but I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope you'll have a lot of success with your new business. How can people find you?
So you can find us online at Inkie.Store.
Okay. How do you spell that?
INKIE.STORE.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. If you're interested in getting some really nice hoodies and t-shirts printed, please reach out to Shane, Inkie.Store, and he will hook you up. So thank you again, Shane. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike. Humbled and grateful you thought of me, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Take care.